Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe is kind of underwhelming. Before I get into talking about it, I'm just going to preface this by saying this is one of my favorite Kirby games. So I still love it. But there are some things I question and decisions that don't really make sense to me. So let's talk about it. Before we get into the new content, I figure I should discuss some of the changes they made. And I really like a lot of them. You don't double tap to start running anymore. Now, if you're using a controller with a stick, you simply run. It feels so much nicer. Albeit the signs still all say that you're supposed to use the D-pad double tap it, which is kind of funny. But that's a change I really like. And the game itself looks a lot better. Who would have thought it went from being in 420 to 1080? Of course it looks better. And secondly, the load times feel a lot longer. I don't know if it's an actual change, or me just thinking that. It'd be hard to tell, because I haven't played the original in probably a year and a half. And at that, I played it on a Wii U, so potentially the loads are about the same as the Wii version. Basically, I don't know. It feels a lot slower. Like, for clarification, I've played this game on, I think, original Wii, Wii U, ironically enough, not Dolphin, but the loads feel slower. Again, I'm comparing it just in my memory to the Wii U running this game, which is definitely more powerful than a Wii. So, I'm not 100% sure, but the load times feel a lot longer than they used to be. And there's also an assist mode, which will help you recover from pits and items you can bring into stages like in Forgotten Land, which I'm not a fan of, to a degree of it feels kind of awkward, but in reality it just gives the player more options, allows the game to be more accessible, and you don't have to use them if you don't want to. Like, I'm not using them because, frankly, I don't want to. It makes the game easier. So, there are definitely cases where it is there, but honestly, while it being a change I don't like, I can easily ignore it by just toggling it off in the settings. Now, onto the new content. First and foremost, the elephant in the room, the Magolor Epilogue. Also known as, here's a handful of new stages you can play as with a new playable character, and it's really fun. Genuinely, I didn't want to stop. It's just more of Kirby. I love Kirby. It's more Kirby. I find it to be more challenging, especially in the platforming, because you don't have infinite flight. You have a little hover that can save you, yes, but it's not going to trivialize all platforming challenges like Kirby's hover. Which, look, I love Kirby. I would like a bit more challenge, which in all fairness, Kirby games usually have with things like Extra Mode in this game, and Meta Knights Mode, and Triple Deluxe, or was it Robobot? But the point being, it's not a big deal that Kirby games are easy, because one, they're just fun and incredibly enjoyable, and two, there is usually a good chunk of difficulty if you know where to look. But it's more, this has been incredibly fun. Racking up combos is so satisfying. And this playthrough of Return to Dreamland, along with this, has made me realize 2D Kirby is just a series of beat-em-ups. Because the most satisfying part, and my favorite part, is just, like, strolling through beating up enemies without very much hazard. Using your movement abilities to avoid being stopped. So, that's cool. But yeah, Magolor Epilogue is just more stages. Visually, they definitely look worse than the rest of the game, which is kind of weird. Like, I applaud that it isn't reusing the same assets. They are new assets specifically for this mode, which is really impressive. Another thing that surprises me, Magolor's moveset is quite different from Magolor as a Dream Helper in Star Allies, which I was also expecting him to basically just lift Magolor straight from Star Allies. After all, it's the same engine. So, Magolor has a different moveset, which surprises me, and I am surprised by the lack of asset flipping. And at that, the use of enemies is really clever since a lot of them are enemies that are only found in the Landia shoot-'em-up section. Right at the end of the main game, and at that, never appear in traditional Kirby platforming. As well as the level doors being the frickin' star-shaped holes which you use to fight the Doomers. Honestly, it's a lot of small touches. I really appreciate the effort that went into it, because very clearly there was effort. Again, I was pretty well expecting, if there were to be any new content before the Direct, of course, that it'd be, here's more Kirby, here's some levels that we added, they're using the existing assets. Albeit, I really wish Magolor is playable in the main campaign. I'll be honest, I haven't checked if he is post this, but you made him playable! Let him be playable! But yeah, it's really fun, and I really enjoy it. So, they did a great job with the Magolor Epilogue. Of course, there's also the new copy abilities. And I was pleasantly surprised to see there is an additional returning copy ability that wasn't advertised. Festival! Yeah, Festival. I question the choice of Festival of all power-ups to bring. I honestly think something like Archer would fit really well into this game, or Beetle, or Bell, or literally any power-up that isn't just another reskin of Mike. This game is 3 of them. Like, I get why it's easy to code. I'm still surprised they even went that much above and beyond. But I do wish we got a different third power-up, even if it were just a returning one. Like, as I said prior, I genuinely think Archer and how it plays would go really well and really smooth into this game. But of course, there are the new power-ups. Mech and Sand. And Sand is really fun! And so is Mech. I'll describe them both. I'll go Sand first. And, well, you can just leap out of the ground. It's a pile of sand. Shoot sandstorms. My biggest gripe with it is, in a lot of aspects, it feels like a worse water. But a good way to put it is it's essentially reverse water. Instead of shooting at the ground to go up, you sit on the ground to go up. Instead of riding a wave, you shoot a wave. It's stuff like that. Basically, in a way, it feels like reverse water, and I really like water, so I don't have any complaints with it. It's really fun to use. Albeit, I wish they had more enemy variety, and this goes for Mech as well, and Festival. Your only way to get sand is the same frickin' enemy. And it's like, I love it. It's adorable. But could you have made like 2 more? And then Mech is a power-up that is questionably inconsistent of when it wants to be available. Because I got it in level 3, because, just small anecdote here, but I, out of, like, I guess habit, went back and did the Hell Room. I forgot it was there. I genuinely just subconsciously went ahead to the Hell Room, which let me play around with both of these abilities. A world to 3 worlds earlier than you normally get them. And Mech, I always like the abilities that change Kirby's flight, because I do find hover annoying. It's just slow. So having this little jetpack that is a bit more gradual to start, but is a lot more smooth, is really nice. The fact you have access to electricity attacks, as well as fire attacks, and multiple passive hitboxes, is really nice. because it means you don't have to switch it out as often as a lot of other powers, because, oh, you need electricity for something? One sec, let me just use my mind. Oh, I need fire? Mortar time it is. Not to mention, you can combo them both to unleash a pretty powerful attack that has really good invincibility frames. Point being, Mech is incredibly fun to use. Genuinely, if you haven't tried it, and you intend to pick it up, or it appears in a future Kirby game, try it. It's really fun. Of course, you also have the sub-games, and, well, a lot of them are returning or remixed versions of older sub-games. But also, there's 10 of them, which is incredibly surprising. Genuinely, most of them are fun. And the rewards for them, because there are rewards for them now, other than just being mandatory to play once or twice for 100% completion, which we'll get into in a moment, are really fun. I really like them. But they're unlocked in a questionable way. So they're a new unlockable for getting the gears. Alright, cool. You also immediately, like before you could even possibly get enough gears to unlock a single sub-game, get access to Merry Magoland. And in that, they are all unlocked immediately for free. So, someone did an amazing job. Seriously, I do not understand how that happened. But, The other note with sub-games is a few of them are missing for some reason. It wouldn't have been that hard. Just change Wiimote controls to stick controls. You already did that for some games that definitely would have been like that on the Wii. And the other note with sub-games, I was hoping they'd all feel like they would still be doable on the Wii. This is a game that could have been made on the Wii. And all of them feel like that. Which really helps because it doesn't make the game feel vastly different and make them stand out. It's a small thing, but I was really hoping for that, so they did a great job. Now, there's the aforementioned reward I mentioned for playing sub-games. One, you can make Merry Magoland have some cool statues based on characters from prior games. Secondly, masks. You unlock them. This is entirely cosmetic and I love it. There are a few you unlock through playing the main story, and hell, this footage was captured before I beat the main story, but they are equipable on every character, and you get one for every boss. There's a ton of returning Kirby characters, and some of them look amazing. Some are kinda interestingly done. Like, I genuinely think for Dark Meta Knight, the differently colored Kirbys, honestly, all of the Meta Knights, like, the ones that are directly a character that's already in the game, like, shape-wise, I kinda wish they didn't just throw a mask on, especially for Dark Meta Knight Galactonite. Because it is hilarious, because there's just a second mask on Meta Knight's mask. You can see it. But I love it. They're really fun collectibles. And they are completely pointless, and the second I saw them, I immediately spent like 4 hours unlocking them, so yeah, I love them. Again, completely pointless cosmetic, which is a good way to make something, because there is no reason to touch them, but they're amazing and I love them, so they did a great job with that. And in terms of comparing it to the original, it's pretty much the definitive version. It looks better, aside from the load times being slightly worse. It's better in every way. It has more content, more sub-games, cosmetics, 2 new copy abilities, and the 3rd variation of Mike no one was asking for. So, it's definitely better. If you've already played the re-release and don't really care for it, it's probably not worth it. If you adore Kirby, it's definitely worth it. If you are someone who likes the original, but doesn't think the new content's enough to sell you on a new release, it probably isn't. I mean, I was kind of destined to love this game because I love this pink puffball. But it's very much, if you already adore the original game or haven't played it before, it's worth picking up. But if you own the original and it's something where you like, or don't care for at all, I guess you could hate it, but if it's something where you like it, but only a handful of new levels and some new sub-games are what you're asking for, then it's probably not worth it. I honestly don't care much for new sub-games as a marketing point myself. Again, I was mostly here because I already adore this game, so I knew I was going to love this. This is straight up one of my favorite Kirby games. The Wii version was, and now this Switch version takes the cake. Because it has slightly more content and cosmetic. If you enjoyed, please consider liking and subscribing. It helps the channel out a ton. What are your thoughts on this remaster? Hell, what are your thoughts on the original game? I'll see you guys in the next one.